You are listening to It's Midnight Somewhere with DJs Mistress McCutchan and The Wasteland.
It's midnight somewhere. It's midnight. It's midnight somewhere. It's midnight.
Hi, this is DJ Mistress McCutchan, and I am joined by The Wasteland. And today, coming to us from the third largest island in Hawaii, Oahu, we're joined by DJ Nocturna to talk about what the goth scene's like in Hawaii. Welcome,
right.
DJ Nocturna.
Hi, thank you guys. Thank you for having me.
So tell us about your role as a DJ. What was your gateway into the scene?
So, I was a DJ on the radio. That's how I started out in the music scene in Hawaii. So I used to have a show called A Feast of Friends on KPRG in Guam. It was a KPRG radio station. And this was back in the late 90s. And so I got into music, and then I came back to Hawaii because I went to school here for college. I came back, and then somebody goes, "Hey, why don't you go sign up over there, go apply at go try to be a DJ at KTUH. They're looking for radio DJs." I go, "Oh yeah, sure." So I did. So that's how I started with radio, and then I started getting into the scene. Playing music out, for clubs, and then I eventually became a promoter.
Oh,
And that was like I don't know, maybe like 18 years ago.
Cool.
okay.
It's been a while, yeah. So we have the goth scene has evolved through the years. As you know, back in the day when I was growing up listening to music, when I was much, it wasn't even called goth. It was called like death rock.
Right.
Goth. The name goth, I don't know, came about later on, and everything was goth, but it used to be death rock. And so I guess I've been doing this for so long. I don't even know. I mean, that's just my life. Being the death rocker, whatever you want to call it. I'm still death. I'm still whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, we've had this as a reoccurring theme that those of us who have been involved in the scene in the 90s have definitely experienced that, where it wasn't called goth then, it was death rock, and then it sort of evolved, and then the goth moniker kind of fell on top of that.
Yeah. Because I remember, the only goth I knew was the Gothic cathedrals, back in the day.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
Band-wise, what drew you in to this particular scene?
Oh, so I grew up listening to Bauhaus and Sisters of Mercy, Susie and the Banshees, The Cure, Depeche Mode. Those bands, Alien Sex Fiend, and I've always loved music. Even when I was younger, I used to collect vinyl. Back when vinyl was really vinyl. When they're so. I've always loved music. So I guess from being a lover of music, I got into being a radio DJ because I collected vinyl and I had all these collections. So in order to be a DJ, you had to bring your own music. You have to have especially the music I want to play, right? Nobody has that. So you have to bring your own stuff. So that's how I started. I guess just a passion for music.
Right.
So you kind of fell into it naturally.
Yeah. I mean, music has always been, that was my first love, right? Music. Like, I'm sure you guys too. So when I came back to Hawaii, they said, "Oh, why don't you be a DJ at KTUH? They're looking for and you could play your own music. You don't have to play that mainstream radio crap, So I said, "Yeah, sure." So I did. So I brought all my stuff, and then I had a Gothic show. It was called A Feast of Friends. It went on for about. In fact, I recently just left the show in December of last year. So I've been there for like over 15 years. And yesterday I just did a little guest spot. And I'll be doing frequent guest spots whenever they need me, And then I moved to Monsnap Radio just because, it was so difficult for me to have to drive there every Saturday. So I've been doing A Feast of Friends every Saturday for 3 hours. My show was at 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. every Saturday for 15 years. So sometimes I could even, I mean, luckily all the events, they happen after 9 o'clock, right? So it was good. So after my show, if I have a gig to go to or I have an event, then I have to just, right after my show, I go straight to the gig, but that's what I used to do. Or I would have a sub. So I did that for 15 years. Um, Finally, I decided, it's been long enough. I need to move on and do other things that I've been passionate about. And that's when, this whole podcast thing, is I have a podcast, and that's how it also. I've been wanting to do a podcast for many years. I just stopped. I just didn't want to. I don't know why. It just never happened. So finally, I said I'm going to do the podcast, and I'm going to stop going. I'm going to just, I think it's time for me to kind of leave my show in KTUH to pursue other things, because you can't really do other things if you have something else you're doing, right? You have to let go of something to move on to something else. And of course, I miss my show. I really do. I miss it. But in a way, I'm okay. I mean, I like what I'm doing now. I love Modsnap Radio. It gives me the ability to broadcast from home or forever. I don't have to be going somewhere. I could do it anywhere. I could do a live show, or I could do a pre-recorded show. So that I think it was a blessing, what the decision I made.
And you have a podcast called Queen of Wands. Tell us a little bit about what Queen of Wands is and why is it called Queen of Wands?
So I don't know if you like if you're familiar with the tarot deck. So the Queen of Wands is the deck that represents the fire signs. So I'm a Sagittarius. So naturally, like an Aries and Leo, they're also fire sign. They are also like the Queen and King of Wands, right? So Queen of Wands is fiery. She usually represents like the entrepreneur. Somebody who's socially, who loves to go out, loves to party, has a very positive. What do you call that? They're charismatic. They're generous. Those are the characteristics of the Queen of Wands. All the fire signs, just like they have in the tarot deck. There's the Queen of Swords, which is the air sign. There's a there's a Queen of Pentacles, which is the earth signs. So just like the Queen of Wands is a fire sign. So that's why I wanted to do something that's passionate and this. I was thinking of a name for my podcast for a long time. I couldn't figure out what it'd be called. So I said, I'll just do Queen of Wands because, I am the Queen of Wands. I'm a fire sign. So that's how it came about.
Naming a podcast is something we found to be quite a challenge.
I know. That's what I mean. And then you guys have a great name. I love your name. I mean, it's like somebody would go, oh, I wonder what's that about. It would draw curiosity. But I also thought that if I name my show, my podcast, The Queen of Wands, then I better do something related to the Queen of Wands, right? So
okay,
a lot of people don't know what the Queen of Wands is if they don't do tarot. So they go, what is that? What do you have, a wand? I go, yeah, I have a wand. It's really funny. They all go, so what? You think you're the queen? And I go, no, it's really not about that. It's if you do tarot, like, do you guys do tarot?
I'm aware of it.
Not really, but I have some knowledge of it.
Yeah. So the Queen of, when you get the Queen of Wands, it's not a major arcana card, but when then that the Queen of Wands represents a fire sign. They're passionate, they're creative, they're inspirational, they're a go-getter, and that's what and so of course I would like something positive for my podcast. So I want to name it something positive. So which is like the Queen of Wands. So that took me a while to figure that name, but I figured that I better call my radio show the Queen of Wands too, since I have that in the podcast. So, there'll just be one hashtag all the time. Yeah.
Right. So
okay.
Let's actually back up a little bit because you went from radio to creating your podcast, but in between you became a producer of club events.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about what got you started in producing.
So, I always wanted to. So when I was a radio DJ, right, and then I was getting out. I used to go to the clubs all the time too. I used to go dancing and everything, and then I would see like there'll be these events, and I said, well, I want to do my own event so I can play the music I want and then DJ at my own event. So I started creating my own event, and I had it. It was called Camera Obscura. This was I don't have that name anymore, but it goes way back when. And so I started doing events at this popular nightclub called Pink Cadillac. It's been around since the 80s. It's not here anymore. That was way back. And so I was doing an event called Camera Obscura at Pink Cadillac. So it was a goth event. And we played like Dead Can Dance, the Cocteau Twins, a lot of the 4AD stuff, Bauhaus, and of course, also the classics like the Joy Division and all those other things. Industrial also, Front 242, and back then, and then I started doing it monthly. So then I moved it to another club in Chinatown, and it went to so many clubs. I mean, that's just the way it is around here. And then I started doing, so that was Camera Obscura. That was a monthly event, and I would do theme parties every month. So they would be like the Vampires Ball, the Goth Prom. I would do theme events, and then eventually I retired that name, Camera Obscura, and I started doing other little things. So I had an event called the Venetian Mass Ball, which I still do. It's it's a it's a yearly event, so it runs in the early part of the year, unless there's something going on and I have to cancel it. But yeah, so it's called the Venetian Mass Ball, and then I also do the Hawaii Horror Ball, and DJ what is his name? I can't remember his DJ name. I'm so embarrassed. Okay. Anyway, Joe. He lives in Portland, and he used to do the Portland Horror Ball. And so he said, "Hey, I'm doing the Portland Horror Ball," and I go, "Do you mind if I do a Hawaii Horror Ball?" He goes, "Yeah, sure." So then he was part of the Hawaii Horror Ball for a little bit, and so it was like an event, but the theme was on horror things, like horror films and things like that. So I do that yearly as well. But I haven't been really constant with that. I've just been doing it every other year, and then so I don't throw that many events like I used to. I used to throw more events before, and then I have an event called Miss Vamp Hawaii, which was a vampire beauty pageant. Yeah, and I did that with another promoter. Her name was Lana, and that was maybe like 3 years ago was the last time we did it. I kind of stopped it, but it went on for about 7 years. So we had it at the Hawaii Theater, which was a big theater, and there will be girls who participate. It's like a beauty pageant, except it's a little bit in the darker side. It's for women who because we all believe that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, you know. So beauty to us is different from other people that consider like the mainstream beauty. You know what I'm saying? So it was very similar to a regular beauty pageant in many ways, but yet it was. I think it was a lot more creative. It was a lot more. I mean, people really went out and they dressed up. So we actually encourage people, the patrons, to come dressed up like vampires. So people will come dressed up as vampires when they watch the show at the theater, and we drew in quite a large crowd. And sometimes we had like 21 girls, anywhere from 15 to 21 every year, and some of them would return and do it again. They would do it like one girl. She did it every single year until she said, "I'm not gonna do it anymore." But and then we had winners. They had the queen. We had best first runner up. We had second runner up. We had Miss Photogenic, Miss Congeniality, that kind of thing. And one thing different about this vampire, about Miss Vamp Hawaii, was we had instead of the bathing suit competition, we had a moon bathing competition. Just like people go out and regular beauty pageants, they parade around in their bikinis on the on the pool. So we did ours on the because it was a moon bathing. So you just imagine bathing on the moon rather than the sun, right? That's vampires, right? So you turn whiter when you bathe under the moon.
Right.
Yeah, so we did that, and then we had the counterpart to this. We had the Count Dracula Hawaii. So these were for the guys, So
Get some equal time going.
yeah, so we had a so it's not called a pageant. It was more like a performance piece for them.
Okay.
And so it's they're goth people that are men that were just very creative, and they wanted to perform, and they wanted to show their piece. So everybody, there was always a talent. Even for Miss Vamp, they had a talent. They had to do some kind of talent. So a lot of them dance, or they had everybody was so creative. People just had their different talents. So we did that also for the guys, and I think we had three or four of that shows. Miss Vamp was more popular.
So you have a really rich history of all the different club events that were going on. I guess, was there like a weekly event? Was there things going monthly?
So back in the day, I would do it monthly, and then I of course I had weekly events. They were not geared toward goth. They were just like I just played music in the club, so I played a lot of goth stuff, but it wasn't specifically for goth people. It was just like I had an event called Thank God It's Thursday, and I was doing a Wednesday every Wednesday. It was called Acid Wash, which is still I'm still currently doing that with some other promoters. Acid Wash runs 3 times a year, so we have to cancel the one we're doing now, but we're gonna do it again. So Acid Wash, that's an 80s. It's an 80s night, but when I go on, I don't play. I play everything. I play the dark 80s, post punk. So it's a mix. So we have there's another DJ. Then he plays. I mean, we play anything from the 80s, but I usually go with the darker side of the 80s. So people that want to hear that can still come to the event. And I think you were here when but you couldn't come out. You were in Hawaii when we are having Acid Wash.
I know.
Yeah, but but maybe you come back and you can check it out. And then I did a monthly 80s night like maybe 3 years ago, and that was running for 5 6 years. It was called 80s pop music. So yeah, there were several events that went through the years.
Well, that and as far as concerts, what's the frequency of bands that tour through Honolulu?
So yeah, one of the best things that ever happened to Hawaii was The Cure. The Cure played here 3 times. Is it 3 times? Wait, I'm 2 times. Yeah, 2 times. I mean, maybe I said 3 times. I'm hoping they will come back like this year or next year. So yeah, so The Cure played here like 2 times, and they played 3 nights, I don't know, 3 long hours.
Aren't we
I mean,
all?
they I don't know if did you guys see The Cure? They're amazing.
They are truly amazing live. And yeah, you can always bet on about a 3-hour concert for sure.
Yeah, so I'm kind of thinking, wow, so there must be a lot of goth people here, right? If they could feel that, but everybody loved The Cure. That's just the thing. They don't have to be goth. Just everybody loved The Cure. So The Cure came here. Depeche Mode has been here like a few times from the 80s all the way. I mean, not recently, but in the last decades or so. And and for me, I brought down David J about maybe like 2 years ago. David J. I brought down Attrition. More recently, I brought down John Fryer, the legendary producer of this Motor Coil. Yeah, he DJ'd, and then I brought down Andy Rourke of the Smiths. He DJ'd. He came down here actually 3 times. He played for Acid Wash twice, and then for my other 80s night a few years later after that. And then I brought down Misumi Max, the fetish model. Unwoman was here twice. The cellist, from San Francisco.
Yeah.
I brought down Voltaire twice, Aurelia Voltaire. And then I had a belly dancing performance of Sabrina Fox, the amazing Sabrina Fox, and Nagasita. And another producer here brought down Raisin Black. Raisin Black's originally from here.
Right.
Obsidian Productions brought them down like maybe like in 2000 to 2018. Yeah. So we have yeah, and of course, we've got other bands of, like for let's see, back in the 90s, this Love and Rockets played here.
Okay.
And then like way down like in the late 80s, there were other bands that came here, Smashing Pumpkins. I don't know, there were so many, Ministry tried playing here.
Okay.
But it's not like it's not a yearly thing. It's not a monthly thing. It's not as often. A lot of bands don't come here. The bands that we like, that's why I bring them down because or else when are they ever going to come here? I mean, I'm hoping that. I mean, I'm glad for The Cure. The Cure played here.
It's tough though because it gets really expensive when you got to fly people over because I mean even from the west coast of the U.S. that's still like a 5-6 hour flight to get to Honolulu.
Right. And the thing is it depends on their how much their fees are, and then if you don't have enough people that's going to cover that, then you're going to lose out, right? So that's a challenge that I guess promoters like me would probably have in that case. But sometimes whatever. I mean, if you love the band so much and whether you make some money or not, you just bring them down, right? Whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand when you want to see a show, you're going to create the show that you want. It's like how you DJ, you're playing what you want to be playing, that darker side of the 80s or whatever goth music that you're interested in. Let's go back a little bit. You were talking about how Raised in Black is from Hawaii. What other local talent is available in Honolulu?
Oh, there's gosh, I forget the name of that band. I mean, there's a lot of talents here. There's a lot of musicians here. They play. There's a lot of live concerts, live bands here, live local bands. But they come from all walks of life. Like classic rock. There's a lot of hip hop artists. Those kind of things.
But not so much in our realm of goth and post-punk.
Yeah, there's a band here. I just can't remember their name, and I'm really embarrassed right now because I could never spell their name. It begins with a T. It's a weird spelling. I'm trying to find them right now on my phone. Oh, they're called. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing this right. They play a lot of dark stuff, and they're pretty good. They're called True Friends, but it's spelled differently. It's spelled TRVEFRNDS.
Okay.
I think that's how you pronounce their name.
It sounds like they did that to themselves.
I don't know why they did that, but yeah. But they're actually they're actually it's very they use the synthesizers a lot, and they sound really good actually.
I'll have to check that out.
We'll have to look them up and see if they have a band camp.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah, they make their own music, which is really good. I like that, and they're a duo. I interviewed them on my show when I was at KTUH. They're a dreamy synth pop duo with goth sensibility. Yeah,
Interesting. Okay. So we talked about bands coming through, a local band in Honolulu. What is the scene like? What is the general age group that comes out, that wants to go to the clubs, that comes out dancing regularly? What is the scene like?
So, in the past we've had we've had Dungeon. We've had this event called the Dungeon. Back it actually went back to the 80s and the 90s, and it was held at a club called 1739, and then we had the Noctuary, which is another event at the Pink Cadillac. So it has evolved through the years, right? So right now we have currently, if you're looking at a monthly event, there's a fetish night that's run by Jody Rose. And then we have an event coming up, the Seven Deadly Sins. It's by Obsidian Productions. That's another promoter. And they moved it to September because of the virus. So we've had different nights. And then I was supposed to have a night, my Venetian Mass Ball, but I had to postpone that too.
But what is the crowd like?
So there's some mixed crowd. It's mixed. We have a goth scene here. So the goth kids will come in. Then we have the ones who are much older. They don't really go out as much as they used to. I don't know what you call them, but they come in. Then we've got the ones who like the 80s, the dark 80s. They come in. So we have a really mixed crowd here in Hawaii. It's not like it's all goth in the one club. All people wearing black. It's kind of all mixed. It's kind of mixed. Different people come to the club.
Very cool.
We have some supporting venues here. We have so I usually do my events at a club called Next Door. It's right in Chinatown, and some other it's a nice club, high ceiling kind of club, and it's been around for a while. And then we got Anna O'Brien's, and they also very supportive of the scene. And then there was another venue that we would have. It was the Hawaiian Brian's, but that kind of I don't know what happened to that venue, the Vortex. I think they not sure. There's always a new club opening up somewhere around, and then that would happen there, and then that kind of thing. So, but I've been doing all my events at Next Door.
Yeah, we were going to ask how supportive venues generally are of a goth night and what the average size of the crowd might be for a given night.
So it could range anywhere from 50 people to depending on the event. It can go up to 200. It just depends on what kind of event, depends on how often you have it. If it's a yearly event or monthly event, people anticipate it. So it just depends. 50 to 200 people.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah. So, yeah, it just depends on the event. There's so many different events here. They have hip hop events and
Right. It's not just a dedicated goth venue.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, yeah.
We don't know very many cities who have that. So,
So it's always a question.
yeah.
Yep, yep.
But what I was also going to ask is if you face the same issues that a lot of other cities face as far as gentrification and clubs coming and going.
Yep, we do. Through the years since I've been doing this, there's been a lot of clubs that shut down, whatever reason, or they would change ownership. Then the whole name changes, and then the whole scene changes in there as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
we've experienced that. There are many times I had to move my event all of a sudden, or I have to change it because the club closed down, or they changed management, or whatever it may be. So yeah, that's always a challenge. But I'm really grateful for the clubs that do allow allow me and the other goth promoters to have our events there, because if it wasn't for them, then we wouldn't have a venue. I would have to go and buy a club and do my own event. No, I don't want to do that, but yeah.
Yeah, as things get more expensive, it gets really challenging because you end up having to shift gears and go to a different space.
Yeah, but Hawaii has a lot of really nice people here, very accommodating people, and it's just, and just to support. I mean, there's been a lot of people that's been coming to the events for years, and they're still supportive, which I'm really grateful for.
Oh, that's really nice to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't keep this going if there wasn't anybody, I'd just be like, I don't know. But yeah, so I love what I do. I love playing music that I love and that other people love. And the same way I help the artists and everybody else that's involved, the artists, the record label, the supporters. So I'm really grateful for my radio show at Modstep Radio and for KTUH. And yeah, and I'm thankful for you guys, because you guys are doing something just as beautiful. You're talking about the scene. You're talking about the genre.
Oh, thank you. I think as two people who, again, music being our lifeblood and being so important to us, it's unavoidable.
Yeah.
You have to talk about it.
Yeah, and I think I'll be doing this even when when I'm older, old and gray, and forever. I think I'll always love my roots, which is the post punk. That movement. And I'm glad because you can connect with anybody now. On Facebook and all that. Instagram and Twitter. The like I never thought that I'll ever meet like John Fryer. I've been listening to this Mortal Coil and the 4AB label, and I never thought, oh my god, I used to see his name on the record label many years ago when I was in my early days, and I'm like, wow, John Fryer, who is that? And then all of a sudden, I met him in San Francisco. I went to the Cat Club in San Francisco, and then there he was. He was spinning the 4AV and mute label songs, music. And then I go, "Are you? Oh my God, you're John Fryer!" And then I met him. That's how I met him, and that's also how I met David J. And I never thought I would meet the bass player of Bauhaus. So it's good. I mean, I love that the fact that I'm and Andy Rourke. I mean, The Smiths is one of my favorite bands in the whole world, and just to actually know the bass player of the Smiths, and he actually played my little guitar that I had. I had a little yucca bass. It's a little bass guitar, and I he actually played on it and he signed it for me, and I still have
Oh,
that guitar.
wow.
Yeah, so it's just wonderful to have these to meet them, and I mean, when you've been listening to them all your life and you've been playing their music on the club and Attrition. I never thought I would meet Attrition, and I always listened to that, the pioneer of dark electro. So I'm really grateful for all that.
It's amazing how the degrees of separation have gotten so much shorter.
I know, right? I mean, you would never think this would ever happen in the '80s or the '90s because before the internet.
Right.
You just read about them in magazines. Outburn magazine. Remember those magazines back in the day? You would read about all the new music and everything, and I guess that's how I got connected. It's not from the internet because there wasn't one. I got connected through I don't know how I got connected, to be honest. From radio and magazines. You just see these records on the stores and you would go, what the heck is this? And then you would listen to it. I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. So for me now, I just I love to support the artists in any way I can, and anything connected to the scene, to the goth, to keep it going, to keep it alive, to keep it alive and pumping for another, as much as I can do it here in Hawaii, and hopefully out now that I'm I have a podcast and my radio show that is online on Modsnap Radio. I hope to reach out to more people. Just unite everybody somehow and connect with everybody that's connected.
So how long have you been podcasting for at this point?
So my podcast, I believe, it started like you guys are way longer than me. 'Cause I know Laura had hers like even before, right? You had another one before this.
Oh, well, Cat versus Bat started 2 years ago, but yeah, we ended just at the beginning of this year before It's Midnight Somewhere has started up. So
Yeah. So my podcast is just since July. So and my first interviewer was first person I interviewed was John Fryer.
I did listen to that episode.
Yeah, I was so grateful because I've always loved him, and so it's so appropriate that I had him as the first one. But yeah, it was. I actually have some interviews there from before I had my podcast. I would interview somebody for my radio show, and I should put it up in the podcast. I have it somewhere. I have David J and some other people. It's on SoundCloud.
So band-wise, again, because of your love of music, what are you listening to currently?
Let me see. I'm constantly listening to music. So right now, there's a band I really like. It's called Antipole.
Okay.
I'm actually doing an interview with them. They're Norwegian. They have a little dark. It's a lot of it's electronic. It's dark electronic music. But there's a lot of stuff I love to listen to. I don't know. I like a band called The Beloved, which I've been listening to them again. And of course, the classics. I still listen to it. I love Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. I always have to play Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds on my show. Bauhaus and the Clan. I just went to the Clan of Zion Block show, which I really love. So I started playing their music again and all that. And I love this the Bellwether Syndicate. Amazing.
Outside of DJing, you're also an ordained minister, so you can marry people in Hawaii.
Oh, yeah.
How did that come about?
Gosh, I don't even know how that happened. I just wanted to see people happy, and I've always wanted to be a bishop. I don't know what it was. I was raised a Roman Catholic. Okay, so I always wanted to wear that bishop hat. So for some reason, I always wanted to just be a minister. And I wanted to see people happy. So one day I just decided I'm going to go get my license for that. And then I married, I don't do it often. Honestly, I don't because I don't have time. But they're usually on weekends and I had my radio show on a Saturday night. So I couldn't do any of that kind of stuff. So if there was a friend or somebody that wanted to get married, they really requested it and I'll do it. So I've done a few. I don't do a lot, but I enjoy doing it. I write my own my own what do you call whatever you want to call it, the ceremony for them. There's their own ceremony depending on who they are, and I would make it appropriate for them. I would write their piece, and they like it. Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool.
Very cool.
It's just beautiful to go to a wedding sometimes. You see people, their happiest day of their life.
That and it just makes a lot of sense because Hawaii is such a destination for people to get married and for couples to honeymoon out there.
Oh, yeah. Yep, it definitely is. I mean, everybody wants to come to Hawaii. That's the thing. It's such a great place to come. I just wish that there was a road that people can drive here from California and the rest of the world. Then it wouldn't be so expensive to fly them all down here. Like bands and that.
Yeah.
I think that kind of wraps it up for questions for us.
Okay.
Again, DJ Nocturna, thank you so much for your time and for sharing a little insight on what you do as a DJ in Hawaii and what the scene is like in Oahu.
No, thank you. No, thank you for having me. Thank you for asking me.
If people want to learn more, your website is?
So djnocturna.com. So I have my podcast there. I got my radio shows, KTUH and Modsnap Radio on djnocturna.com, or you can go to modsnapradio.com.
We'll make sure to link these up in the notes.
Okay, and then they can follow me also on social media, Nocturna Remix on Facebook, DJ Nocturna on Twitter and Instagram.
Very cool.
Well, thank you so much. And I'll be sure to share it on my page as well about your podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I appreciate that.
And that wraps it up for this episode. If you enjoy what you're hearing, please like, subscribe, and share. If you'd be so kind to rate us and write a review on iTunes and the like, it helps us get our show out there. You can also reach out with comments and feedback via our Facebook page or via email at itsmidnightsomewherepodcast@gmail.com. I want to thank Marion Green for our visuals. We currently have her artwork on 4x4-inch vinyl stickers available at morbidoutlook.com/sticker. All the prices are in Canadian dollars and include the shipping across Canada and the US. Funds from the sales are helping us defray costs in producing the podcast. We also have to thank Robin Bright of Cockatoo for our theme music. Do check out her band at cockatoocockatoo.bandcamp.com. And also thanks to our producer, Justin Minister. We have a live stream show of Prophecy coming this Friday, May 1st, available on Twitch. The Wasteland and I will be spinning a night shift from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. Toronto time. Join us for your new favorite songs at twitch.tv/prophecy_online on May 1st. Until next time.
It's midnight, somewhere. It's midnight. It's midnight, somewhere. It's midnight.
This podcast was almost called Death by Darkness, but then I started typing that in the suggestions and Death by Snoo Snoo came up instead.
Snoo snoo.